The viral video of Alex Caruso explaining why the Lakers didn't bring him back was great, but he didn't tell the whole story. I think Alex was like trying to be nice and not say anything to make headlines, but he really held back when you know the actual reason LA canceled the Caruso. Of course, we all love Alex Caruso because, you know, he's like a smallish, balding dude who shouldn't make the NBA, but he plays with more heart than anybody. He loved the Lakers so much, he would have taken less to go back. But the Lakers said no twice. What they offered Caruso was like a slap in the face. And look, I get the loyalty. I mean, anytime you win a chip with LeBron, it's nice, but they meant everything to his career. Caruso went from undrafted to the G League to the NBA playing with LeBron James. I mean, Frank Vogel chose to just not even play him game 1 of 2020, but he was starting the last game of their championship. That kind of underdog story is awesome, but everyone knows everyone gets paid after winning a chip. Why is Caruso any different? He was key to why they won in the bubble, but they still disrespect him. I mean, Caruso became like a meme on social media, but you don't get that much love without the game to back it up, which he has. So this is how it all went down on August 2nd, first day of free agency. The Lakers called right when free agency opened with like a low ball offer. And we now know exactly what that offer was, even though he wouldn't really tell JJ Redick.
Blink once if my contract guess for the Lakers is over, and blink twice if it's under. Okay? 2 for 15. That was their initial offer.
Less than 2 years, 15 million? Yes, the number was actually 3 years for 21 million, which is way less than what the Bulls offered, 4 years, 37. Alex wanted the full mid-level, which is like 10 million a year. So he called the Lakers back and he said, okay, let's compromise. 2 years, 20 million. Not only did they say no, they didn't even negotiate. They just hung up. That serves them right to miss Caruso this year. They didn't even fight for him. He was so valuable to that team. He had to take the Bulls offer because it set his family up for generations. He didn't want to leave. And the reason the Lakers didn't fight for Caruso was the luxury tax. It turns out if they paid that $10 million that he wanted, it would cost an additional $17.5 million in tax money, which would make the total $37.5 million more than what the Bulls ended up paying. But the thing is, they're the Lakers. They print money. They make $120 million a year on their local TV deal. That doesn't even factor in merchandise, national TV, ticket sales, or this huge stadium deal they just signed. And the problem, the reason they don't want to spend money is the owners. They're owned by the Buss family, who isn't like the Clippers owner Steve Ballmer or the Warriors Joe Lacob. Like, those guys are independently wealthy outside of basketball, and their NBA team is just like their passion or their hobby. For the Buss family, like, that's all they got, okay? Jerry Buss left the team to his 6 kids. So any money that Caruso got would directly come out of their pockets. So instead of, you know, making the team better, they want to keep their trust fund lifestyle like 1% better for just 1 year. Look, I know that's a harsh way to put it, but it's the truth, and Alex Caruso wasn't going to say that on the JJ Redick podcast. If I were a Laker fan, I would be pissed, but I think LeBron James should be even more upset. His entire GOAT legacy is basically resting on the next 2 to 3 years. And they chose to make the team worse, over 17 million bucks. So let's have a look at what they did with that money instead. They used minimum deals to get Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Kent Bazemore, Rajon Rondo, Malik Monk, DeAndre Jordan, Wayne Ellington, Trevor Ariza. 2 years, 10.25 for Kendrick Nunn, and 3 years, about $31 million for Talen Horton-Tucker. Yes, they chose THT over Alex Caruso. And I mean, yes, THT has good moments, but a 20-year-old is less valuable than Caruso, even with a higher ceiling. I'm sure the Lakers will say that THT is better for the future, but there is no future. It's all about right now. You have LeBron James. Don't think about the future. But the real reason that they may have picked THT, and this sucks, is that his agent is Rich Paul, LeBron's best friend. Let's put it this way. Caruso asked for 2 years, 20, and they said no. So instead they signed THT for 3 years, 31 million. Just ask yourself, which of those guys would you rather have? I do think THT has a higher ceiling, but for the next 2 years, I think Caruso wins more games. He is balling out on defense right now for the Bulls. The Lakers are a mess, especially on D. And props to Caruso for not being angry about this, but I would be so pissed if the Lakers disrespected me just because Rich Paul was the other guy's agent. Or maybe he's not upset because the Bulls are better than the Lakers. Right now, Caruso is showing how valuable he can actually be to a team, especially on defense. He is number 1 or number 2 in steals for the entire league. Once again, an elite defensive rating while the Lakers are awful defensively. I mean, Russell Westbrook just like leaves his guy open. Caruso actually said, quote, "If I know anything about playing here for the last couple of years, it's that Frank Vogel is going to tirelessly work to figure it out, and they've got some of the best minds with LeBron and Rondo and their coaching staff. They're going to do just fine down the road." This guy's like way too nice, okay? Some people would be like, "Oh, you didn't want to pay me? Yeah, see what you get?" It's like Kyle Kuzma on Instagram with that post that said, "Oh, the Lakers are 0-8 since they got rid of Kuz." I just think Caruso doesn't want to waste energy on the Lakers because his team has a lot to prove. I mean, think about Lonzo Ball being dropped by his team twice, or all the doubters for Zach LaVine, obviously DeRozan in the contract. The Bulls are a special team because they are all underdogs. Caruso fits perfect. He's not bitter about being a Bull because that's the only way to take his game to the next level. It's not just about money. It's the opportunity. I mean, forget about the drama with the Lakers picking THT over Caruso. My favorite quote from that JJ Redick pod was what Alex said he learned from LeBron and Rondo that made him the player he is now.
Like, they're just so smart, and like seeing them operate for a couple of years and seeing like how they would like communicate and think and point and tell people where to go before stuff happened. It's like I've tried to take a little bit of that with me. And obviously I think I'm going to get better at it the more I'm away from them and, you know, kind of put pressure on myself to be good at it. But it's that thing of like, they know what's going on, so they can already, it's like chess, right? Like they're 2 moves ahead.
And for all the people that doubted DeMar DeRozan, I know I did. This is a deep dive on exactly why he's playing so well this season.